In my previous life, while I was gathering herbs in the mountains, I used a secret remedy passed down in my family to save a man who had been bitten by a venomous snake. Afterward, he asked me what I wanted in return. I asked for a bright future for my fiancé, Andrew Parker, who had just graduated from college and enlisted in the military. Not long after Andrew got promoted, the very first thing he did was call off our engagement. I refused to agree. I went to his base demanding an explanation, but he had already planned something cruel. He gave me a sum of money, saying it was for our wedding, and then turned around and accused me of extortion. He used his connections to have me imprisoned for 3 years. After I got out of prison, no one wanted to associate with me. People whispered behind my back, mocked me, and refused to hire me. I couldn't find any decent work and had to rely on the most exhausting jobs just to survive. Meanwhile, Andrew was thriving in the military. Not only did he marry another college graduate, a former educated youth from our village named Lisa Warren, but he also brought his parents to the city to enjoy a comfortable life. I couldn't accept being framed and discarded like that. I kept fighting, kept struggling, as if falling endlessly into a bottomless pit, until I died on the road, trying to continue my pursuit of justice. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the moment when Andrew came to break off our engagement. He looked young, full of arrogance. "Emily Dawson," he said coldly, "let's call off the engagement. I'm about to be promoted in the army. You're just a rural girl with no education, no background. You're not qualified to be my wife." I stared at the young, hot-headed Andrew, dazed by how familiar his face looked. Didn't I die? Why was I seeing him so young again, seeing me speechless and staring at him? Andrew's expression grew irritated. "Emily Dawson, why aren't you saying anything? Are you still hoping I'll change my mind? I'm telling you now, don't even think about clinging to me. If you do, don't blame me for being ruthless." I had already experienced just how ruthless he could be. Those 3 long years in prison, the ridicule, the humiliation, the desperation of having nowhere to turn, all of it came flooding back. Fueled by anger, I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. Caught completely off guard, his face twisted to one side as he stumbled back, clutching his cheek. He glared at me, furious. "You dared to hit me, Emily Dawson. You're asking for trouble. Just wait and see." I looked him dead in the eye. "Fine, let's break off the engagement. But first, pay me back all the money I spent supporting your education all these years and return my admission letter to Capital Medical University." The moment I said that, Andrew's face turned pale. I had been the barefoot doctor known across several neighboring villages. In my previous life, the man I saved from a 5-step snake bite in the mountains had been amazed by my medical skills. He told me it was a waste for someone like me to remain stuck in a mountain village, and said he would recommend me to study at Capital Medical University. Not long after he left, I received a special admission letter from the university. I had packed my bags, ready to leave for school. But right then, Andrew's mother suddenly came down with a mysterious illness and became bedridden. Andrew returned from the army and begged me to take care of her. He told me her condition was life-threatening, that their family had no money and that they had no one else to rely on but me. I loved Andrew and I couldn't turn him down. So I gave up the opportunity to study at the university and stayed behind to care for his mother. Eventually, under my careful attention, his mother fully recovered. But once Andrew was promoted, he came back, and broke off our engagement. Naturally, I refused. I would rather die than agree. But Andrew, afraid I would make a scene, devised a vicious plan. He hid 30,000 yuan under my bed and accused me of blackmail. 30,000 yuan was no small amount, and with his twisted lies, he had me arrested and imprisoned for 3 years. Those 3 years in prison were worse than death. After I got out, I heard that Andrew's career in the army had only flourished. He had married Lisa Warren, who supposedly graduated from Capital Medical University. But I knew Lisa from the village. She was an educated youth, yes, but lazy, ignorant, and completely unqualified for medical school. How could she have possibly gotten in? It was only after I thought deeply that I realized the truth. Andrew had betrayed me. He had stolen my admission letter and secretly given it to Lisa, who then used my name to enroll at Capital Medical University in my place. When I learned the truth, I was furious and heartbroken. I couldn't let it go. I filed complaints everywhere, trying to expose Andrew and Lisa for what they really were. But because of Andrew's growing power, I was constantly suppressed. There was no path forward. Then one day I saw an article in the newspaper about the man I had once saved in the mountains. That's when I found out he was General Michael Lee, a major figure in the military district. With my last hope, I boarded a train heading north, planning to find General Lee and ask him to help me seek justice. But before I could even meet him, my efforts had already tipped off Andrew and Lisa, alerting them to my plans before I could act. They ruthlessly pushed me into the river and drowned me. I never thought I'd get the chance to live again. This time, I would settle every score. Every grudge would be paid back in full. Of course, Andrew Parker had no intention of giving me back my college admission letter. He tried to stall, hoping to come up with a way to deal with me, but I didn't give him the chance. I grabbed him and started crying and shouting, making a scene. My cries drew a crowd of villagers who came over to see what was happening. Tearfully, I laid everything bare. I told them how Andrew was trying to break off our engagement. I told them how I had been going into the mountains to gather herbs since I was 10 just to support Andrew through school, his tuition and living expenses for middle school, high school, and college. Every cent came from me, and now that he had made something of himself, he had turned his back on me and wanted to call off the engagement. Andrew Parker, now I finally see you for who you really are. All that time you sweet-talked me into doing everything for you. You were just using me. Now that you've succeeded, you want to kick me aside. Are you even human? The villagers were shocked and disgusted by what they heard. This is outrageous. Isn't this just like those scumbags and old operas who ditch their wives after getting rich? Exactly. The moment he's promoted and successful, he abandons the woman who supported him. Unbelievable. Emily's done everything for the Parker family, and now they want to deny all of it. That's inhuman. If he wants to call off the engagement, he should at least pay her back. With the villagers talking like that, Andrew's face turned red with shame. Who says I won't pay her back? He muttered. I'll go home right now and gather the money. Just then, a delicate voice rang out. Lisa Warren came rushing over. Seeing the villagers looking at Andrew with contempt, she puffed out her chest and stepped protectively in front of him. What are you all doing? Andrew is a soldier, a hero who protects all of us. You can't bully him. I scoffed and raised my voice. No one's bullying your so-called hero. He owes me money, and it's only right that he pays it back. That's called basic decency. Lisa narrowed her eyes and sneered. Emily, Dawson, are you seriously dredging up old debts? No one forced you to pay for Andrew's education. You did that willingly, and besides, Andrew is a soldier now. He risks his life for the people. Isn't it normal for someone like you to sacrifice a little for him? You talk like it's no big deal. So why don't you make the sacrifice? Since you love him so much, why don't you repay what I gave him? How about that? Lisa glared at me. Fine, I will. It's just money. I'll have my uncle wire it to me right away. Lisa's family was from the city, and her uncle was reportedly an influential official in the county. That, of course, was the real reason Andrew dumped me. He wanted to climb higher. Lisa, offering to repay the money, left Andrew deeply touched. Thank you, Lisa. I really mean it. She smiled sweetly. Don't mention it. After all, civilians and soldiers are like family, aren't we? Unlike some people who calculate every step just to keep you tied down with guilt. The villagers who didn't know the full truth were quick to praise Lisa for her generosity and sense of justice. She and Andrew exchanged loving, sentimental looks. I watched the two of them flirting shamelessly in front of everyone and said slowly, "There's one more thing. Andrew Parker, I want my college admission letter back." Now, at the mention of that letter, Lisa's expression froze. If I took it back, she wouldn't be able to impersonate me and attend college in my name. Lisa was no prodigy. She had no medical skills, no ambition, and certainly no discipline to study. College for her was nothing but a pipe dream. That's why in my past life, these two snakes tricked my little sister into handing over my letter so they could steal it and use it for themselves. Now that I was asking for what was rightfully mine, Lisa snapped. You can't have it. Why not? What does it have to do with you? I demanded. I said, no, you're just a nobody from some rural village. What makes you think you can survive at a top university? That's the capital we're talking about. You wouldn't even be able to find your way out of the train station. Whether I can or not isn't your business. I want the money, and I want my admission letter. Lisa shouted. Emily, Dawson, you're such an ungrateful wretch. How dare you do this to Andrew? Don't forget the Parker family raised you. If it weren't for them, you would have starved to death long ago. They were kind enough not to ask for all the money they spent raising you. That alone should be enough. And now you want to take everything from Andrew. You've got some nerve asking for that much money. Don't you feel the slightest bit of guilt? Lisa Warren snapped, hearing her say that. The villagers started to take their side. Yeah, I remember Emily was taken in by the Parker family when she was just 6. They must have spent quite a bit raising her over the years. That's right. Another chimed in. She's just that kind of ungrateful child who drains the people who raise her. After more than a decade of care, that should more than make up for what she spent on Andrew's education. She's just asking for all that money because she doesn't want the engagement to end. Andrew's a college graduate and a soldier. He's bound to get promoted. No way. Emily's dumb enough to give up a man like that. I can't believe I actually felt sorry for Emily. Turns out she's been scheming all along. What a snake. Someone spat toward me. I didn't expect the villagers to be so easily swayed by them. Watching the smug look in Lisa's eyes, I let out a cold laugh. Who said I was raised by the Parker family? My parents died saving Andrew's parents. The government even awarded them medals for bravery, and recognized them as martyrs. The only reason the Parker family took me in was because they felt guilty. And for your information, I'm the daughter of fallen heroes. I've been receiving a survivor's pension from the government since I was little. All these years I lived under their roof, but I never spent a single cent of their money.
My parents'
pension more than covered my needs.
not.
To mention, I started collecting and selling medicinal herbs in the mountains at a young age to help out the household. I worked like a mule for the Parker family, and I never saw a penny of that pension. They kept every bit of it for themselves.
Didn't any of you notice how
The whole Parker family always had new clothes and meat on the table year
round?
that was all paid for with my parents' pension? My words sparked a shift in the crowd. The villagers started to recall the
Past.
now that she mentions it. If it hadn't been for her parents saving the Parkers, she wouldn't have been orphaned in the first place. And even if she did get a pension, she still worked her butt off for the family.
Just the fact that
Her parents saved the Parkers shouldn't. The Parkers have treated her better out of gratitude. Sensing the change in public opinion, I raised my voice. Andrew Parker, you're a heartless, backstabbing bastard.
you
Will pay me back my money, and you will return my college admission letter.
I
Want both, nothing less. Andrew's face turned pale. He stood there in silence, ashamed and speechless. He knew perfectly well he was in the wrong.
but
Lisa couldn't sit still any longer. You can't give it to her. I looked at Lisa, who was fuming with rage, and sneered. Lisa Warren, what does this have to do with you? This is between Andrew and me. Don't you feel ridiculous throwing yourself into something that's none of your business? I am just standing up for what's right. Oh, really? Then why is it that out of all the people here, you're the only one jumping in to defend
him?
None of the other educated youths are saying a word. Just you. You and Andrew sure seem close. Don't tell me Andrew is trying to dumb me because he's got his eye on some city girl like you. The moment I said that, every villager's gaze turned toward Andrew and Lisa. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and suspicion. Yeah, what exactly is Lisa's relationship with Andrew? Why is she so protective of him anyway? There are plenty of educated youths around here. None of them are defending Andrew. Just Lisa. Something smells fishy. Didn't she just offer to pay back Emily's money on Andrew's behalf?
Who
Does that unless there's something going
on? Now that you say it, I
remember seeing Lisa sneaking off to the riverbank at night with Andrew. Just as the crowd was about to put the pieces together, Andrew's mother, Margaret Parker, suddenly appeared.
She
Stormed in, grabbed Andrew by the ear, and yelled, "You little bastard.
what?
The hell have you been doing behind my back? How could you be so ungrateful?
I
Ought to beat some sense into you." Margaret was quite the character.
She
Gave Andrew a few performative smacks, then turned to me with a concerned face. "Emily, sweetie, I've always treated you like my own daughter. Whatever this little brat has done, I'll make sure you get the justice you deserve." I stared at her coldly. In my past life, when Andrew set me up and had me sent to prison, she never once showed any
remorse.
In fact, when I got out and tried to file complaints to clear my name, she came after me herself, beating and kicking me to keep me quiet.
I
Shoved her hand away. "I don't want your fake sympathy. I just want the money I gave in my admission letter. I'm not leaving without both.
If you don't give
Me what I owed, I'll report this to the authorities," I warned. Margaret Parker gave an awkward smile. "Don't worry. We'll figure out a way to gather the money.
just give us some time.
As for the admission letter, I've brought it with me. I'll give it to you right now." As she spoke, she handed me a registered envelope with Capital University printed on it. The moment she did, Andrew and Lisa rushed over to stop her. Andrew
Panicked.
Mom, don't give it to her. What about Lisa? The two of them stared at the letter in my hands, trying to snatch it away.
Of
Course, I wasn't about to let them succeed. I clutched the envelope tightly and fought them off with everything I
had.
When Andrew lunged at me, I scratched and bit him. He ended up with several long scratches down his arms. Lisa got a few punches from me as well. Meanwhile, Margaret was pretending to mediate, trying to break us up. Then out of nowhere, someone gave her a shove. She suddenly fell to the ground, clutching her leg. Oh no, my leg.
My
Leg. Hearing her cry out, Andrew had no choice but to stop and rush to her
side.
Seizing the opportunity, I quickly hid the admission letter inside my
Blouse.
Andrew, unable to get what he wanted, helped his wailing mother to her
Feet.
Then he turned to me and snarled, "Are you satisfied now? Let me tell you something, Emily Dawson. If anything happens to my mom, I won't go easy on
You.
He glared at me, eyes full of
Threat.
I'm about to get promoted. When I do, you'll regret everything.
I
Wouldn't regret a thing. The only thing I regretted was ever letting the Parker family use me in the first place.
In
This life, I was going to take that admission letter and go to college.
I
Was going to get as far away from Andrew Parker as possible and live a life completely different from the last one. As for Andrew, he could keep dreaming about success. He thought his promotions in the military were because of his talent. He should take a good look in the mirror at that greedy, shameless face of his. In our past life, he only rose through the ranks because of me. After I saved General Michael Lee in the mountains, he insisted I go to Capital Medical University. He even told me to name one more request. I was hopelessly in love with Andrew back then, so I recommended him. At that time, Andrew had just enlisted after graduating college.
He
Was still a nobody, just a regular soldier with no recognition or prospects. He constantly wrote to me, complaining that he wasn't being noticed, that the environment was tough, and that life was unfair. I felt sorry for him, so I put in a word for him to General Lee. Only then did he finally get on a path toward promotion, climbing up from an ordinary soldier all the way
to the top.
But in this life, I would never let that vile, despicable man benefit from me again. I had to find a way to reach General Lee and have Andrew's promotion revoked. Back home, I began preparing to write a letter to General Lee. I took out my pen and paper, but as I moved, the admission letter fell from the envelope and landed on the floor. I picked it up, and the moment my eyes landed on the blurry, embossed seal at the top, it hit me like a bolt of lightning. The admission letter was fake. Of course it was. It had to be the Parker family. They had forged a fake letter and swapped it with mine. No wonder they had put on such an over-the-top performance earlier, trying to grab the letter, pretending to be injured.
It was all a setup.
They didn't want me to look too closely at what was inside. Even after getting a second chance at life, I had still been deceived by them. Fury surged in my chest. I no longer cared about writing the letter. I stormed out of the house and marched straight to the Parker home. The night in the village was pitch
Black.
I carried a flashlight, weaving through the dark, uneven paths, my heart burning with rage. When I found Andrew, I was going to beat the truth out of him.
I
Would drag everything out into the open and make sure the whole family was humiliated. As I passed by a clump of tall reeds, I suddenly heard a familiar giggle. That was hilarious. You and your Mom really nailed that performance. Emily Dawson had no idea she was holding a fake admission letter. Lisa's voice was giddy with delight.
She
Thought she was being clever. She had no idea I'd already forged a fake letter. Just for her. The real one. I've got it. Hidden under the cabinet back at home. When we get married, I'll hand it over to you and you can go to college in her place. Lisa giggled and planted a kiss on Andrew's cheek. But what if when school starts, Emily shows up with that fake letter, she asked. She's such a loud mouth. What if she causes a scene? Once she finds out, she's just a shrew, Andrew replied. So what if she
finds out?
What can she even do? She'll definitely cause a huge scene when she
Finds out, Lisa said.
Once that happens, the truth about me taking her place will
Come out.
Don't worry, Andrew replied smoothly. I won't give her a chance to show up at the university. I'll figure out a way to set her house on fire. Once the fake admission letter is reduced to ashes, what will she have left to prove? Anything? You're so smart, Andrew.
I
love you to death. Lisa giggled, full of admiration for his plan. Their voices, filled with sickening affection, kept ringing in my ears. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my
palms.
Andrew Parker's shamelessness had gone beyond anything I could have imagined. Thank God I didn't storm into their house earlier. If I had, I would have played right into their hands. Andrew was right. Everyone in the village saw Margaret hand me that admission letter. If I tried to claim it was fake, no one would have believed me. Given how hopelessly devoted I used to be to Andrew, the villagers would have assumed I was just causing trouble to avoid the breakup. The Parker family really was vile. They had thought of everything. Then from within the hay stack came sounds so disgusting I wanted to vomit. Even in the middle of their little tryst, Andrew reminded Lisa. Lisa, don't forget we're already husband and
wife.
Make sure to tell your uncle to help get me promoted. So he actually believed his rise in the military was thanks to Lisa's connections. I let out a cold sneer. Keep dreaming, Andrew. Dream on about your glorious future. Since you're so shameless and dirty, don't blame me for being ruthless. I needed to return the favor with something big, something worthy of the scheme they'd plotted against me.
I
crept closer to the haystack. The two of them were completely caught up in their moment, unaware of anything around them. I quietly picked up their discarded clothes and slipped away as silently as I came. Then I tossed their clothes into the village stream and watched them float away with the current. Next, I rushed toward the Parker house. Now that I knew exactly what Andrew was after, I had to get the real admission letter back and deliver the gift they
deserved.
I had helped build that house. As a girl, I hauled stones and laid the foundation like a grown man. I even helped mold and fire the bricks at the
kiln.
Most of the effort and money for that house had come from me. No one knew that house better than I did. I climbed in through the back window and made my way quietly to Andrew's room. I searched the cabinet just as he had described and finally retrieved the real admission letter hidden inside. With the letter in hand, I climbed out unnoticed and lit a match to the firewood pile outside their home. Flames roared to life, casting a red glow across the dark village night. Villagers quickly noticed the fire and rushed over to help. The Parker family screamed and cried, trying desperately to save what they could. But all the firewood surrounding their house, that was mine. I had carried it back from the mountains myself. Bundles upon bundles, stacked tightly around their home. There was enough dry wood there to burn for a year straight. Now that same firewood was doing its job. The flames surged, higher and higher. There was no hope of putting them out. In the end, the Parkers managed to salvage a few household items, but all they could do was stand there helplessly as their home burned to the ground. Margaret Parker and her husband stood outside wailing and cursing. I stood among the crowd, watching silently as the fire devoured everything they had. I felt no pity. Then someone finally noticed something strange. "Wait, where's Andrew?" someone
asked.
"I see Margaret and her husband, but not Andrew." "Why isn't he helping?" "Yeah, how can he be missing when their whole house is burning down? This isn't right. Why isn't he here?" Just as the murmur spread, a child's voice cut through the crowd. "I just saw Andrew and that city girl, Lisa, hiding in the haystack. They didn't have any clothes
on."
It was Doggy, the son of Old Who, from the village. Margaret's face twisted in panic. "Don't make things up,
Doggy."
But Doggy stood tall, neck stretched, shouting, "I'm not lying. They're over in that haystack at the East End." Margaret snapped and pushed him, but Doggy's parents weren't about to let that slide. "What are you doing? Pushing a child? Your kid's making up nonsense. You clearly didn't raise him."
"Right."
"Oh, like your kid's so well
raised.
If he were, he wouldn't be rolling around in the haystack doing indecent things with another man's
daughter."
Doggy's mother wasn't backing down.
She
raised her voice even louder.
"If you
don't believe my son, let's all go to the haystack and see for ourselves." Everyone in the crowd was an adult. They all knew perfectly well what it meant for a man and woman to sneak off together into a haystack. And naturally, curiosity got the better of them. Margaret couldn't stop them. The entire group, still holding their flashlights from trying to fight the fire, marched off toward the haystack Doggy had mentioned. And there, in the flickering light, they caught Andrew and Lisa, completely naked without even a scrap of clothing to cover themselves. The villagers surrounded the haystack like they were watching a circus, gawking at Andrew and Lisa's disgrace. It wasn't until Margaret Parker came over with clothes that the two of them were able to get away. After such an embarrassing scandal, Andrew and Lisa had no choice but to get married on the spot to quiet the gossip and minimize the damage. They rushed off to the Civil Affairs Bureau and registered their marriage. The day they got their marriage certificate, Andrew made time to come find me. "This was you, wasn't it? What are you talking about?" I said innocently.
"Cut the act," he snapped. "You're the
one who set the fire at my house.
You're
the one who sent someone to expose me. And Lisa." I asked Doggy, and he said you gave him candy to say that stuff about us in front of everyone. Andrew wasn't stupid. He had gone digging for evidence. But even if he found clues, what did it matter? Everything he and Lisa had done was true. I didn't slander. I just let the truth come out. He glared at me with hatred. "I know you set that fire, and I know you overheard me and Lisa talking, so you must have the real admission letter now, don't you?" "Real? Fake? I have no idea what you're talking about," I said coolly. "My admission letter is as real as it gets." Seeing I wouldn't play along, his rage grew. "I didn't think you'd be this shameless, Emily Dawson. You really think having that letter means you'll get to go to college? Dream on." "I won't let happen." "And what exactly are you going to do?" I mocked. "Set fire to my house." "Go ahead. Try it." "I'm not as twisted as you are," he said, trying to sound self-righteous. "But let me warn you, Lisa's uncle is a powerful man. One word from her, and he'll crush you like a bug." "Is that so?" I replied with a cold
Laugh.
I'm not making idle threats. For your own good, you'd better hand over the admission letter and let Lisa use
It.
If you do, I might let you off the hook out of old-time sake.
And if I don't, then you'll see.
You'll be backed into a corner with no one to save you. No one to even hear you scream.
He
Wasn't lying. In my previous life, when I tried to fight back, I hit nothing but dead ends. Every appeal, every plea, every attempt at justice was blocked.
It
had to be Lisa's so-called powerful uncle pulling the strings from the shadows. Andrew, Lisa, and the people backing them. They weren't even human. They were monsters. In this life, they were still trying to steal what was
mine.
to take my future, to replace me. Again. But this time, I wouldn't let it happen. I wouldn't sit back and let them destroy me all over again. If they were so eager to destroy themselves, then I'd be more than happy to help them along. This life, we'll see who wins in the
end.
Andrew left empty-handed, furious. Before he went, he warned me again to just wait. A week later, he and Lisa held their wedding. Their house had been burned to the ground, so the Parker family had to move into the village office temporarily. They held the banquet in the plaza in front of the building. Even though they'd lost their home, they still had all the money they'd stolen from me, my parents' death benefits, my herb selling, income from years of labor.
So the
wedding wasn't exactly shabby. I went, along with the rest of the villagers, to attend the feast. When Andrew and Lisa came around to toast the guests, Lisa looked at me with a sneer. I'm honestly impressed you had the nerve to show up and eat. You still have an appetite after everything. Must be miserable inside, huh? Miserable?
I laughed.
Compared to being caught naked in a haystack and becoming the biggest joke in the village, I'm doing great. Eating well, sleeping well, gained 2 pounds even. The moment I brought up their scandal, Lisa's face twisted in fury. She gritted her teeth. You can win a war of words, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next. Emily.
Dawson. Soon you'll understand exactly
What's coming your way? You'll be begging me on your knees to spare you. Andrew and Lisa held back their rage and continued pouring drinks for the guests. As for me, I ate and drank to my heart's content, feeling absolutely delightful. Just as the banquet was winding down, Margaret Parker and her husband walked over. Margaret was holding a stuffed cloth pouch and handed it to me. Emily, she said, here's the money you asked
for.
Enemies should be settled, not deepened, Margaret said softly.
Now
that we've given you the money, I hope you'll stop targeting our family. Please, I'm begging you as your aunt. She sounded truly sincere, but I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the bag right there in front of everyone. Inside were 10 bundles of cash, 100,000 yuan.
Well,
Andrew sure was bold. And Lisa's so-called uncle really was rich. They'd actually come up with that much money.
I
counted the bills out loud in front of the villagers, then took the money and headed home. In my past life, Andrew had falsely accused me of extorting 30,000
yuan.
I was sentenced to 3 years in prison because of it. And now in this life, they'd handed over 70,000 more. Sure, 100,000 is just over 3 times as much as 30,000, but the sentence wouldn't just triple. With that kind of amount, they'd label it as especially large and throw me in prison for life. Their plan really was devious and absolutely shameless. But now I had nothing to hold me back. When I got home, I acted like it was any other day. I ate dinner, washed up, and got ready for bed. Just after 8 p.m., I heard the sound of a car outside. Moments later, someone knocked on the
door.
A stern voice called out, Emily. Dawson, open up. We're the police.
Where?
Here to question you about a case.
I
Open the door. A group of serious-looking officers entered, flashing their badges and stating their purpose. They said they were from the county's public security bureau investigating a case of extortion reported by the Parker family. They claimed that villagers had served as witnesses and that the 100,000 yuan in my home had been seized as evidence. With the accusation and evidence supposedly lining up, they said my crime was confirmed. They were preparing to take me away. I'm not going with you, I said flatly.
I
Haven't committed any crime.
I didn't
Extort anyone. You have no right to arrest me. The evidence is overwhelming. And you still dare to deny it? The lead officer sneered. You think the law is a joke? I stared at the officer. His face was familiar. Captain I said calmly.
I have
Grievances. I demand the right to appeal.
He scoffed.
A criminal trying to appeal. What's there to appeal? You extorted money. That's it. Don't waste time, he barked at the others. Cuff her and take her in.
If
she resists, use force. As he gave the order, the officers moved toward me with handcuffs. I recognized this man. He was the same officer who'd come to arrest me in my previous life. He was the one who dragged me off to the detention center, the one who made sure I was convicted and imprisoned. And afterward, when I tried to appeal my case, he blocked every step, made my life hell. Back then, I hadn't known why he treated me so cruelly, but now I did.
I
knew exactly who he was. Ichua was the son of Wu Zhendong, the powerful county official Lisa always bragged about. Lisa's uncle, and Hitch Chiwa's job as captain of the criminal investigation unit. That wasn't earned. It was stolen. He'd taken it by impersonating someone named Michael Hay, the rightful candidate for the position.
Hitchua
knew I was innocent.
He knew I'd been
framed by his cousin Lisa and Andrew. But he didn't care. He had no conscience. Then or now. I refused to let them cuff
me.
I haven't done anything wrong.
I
didn't extort anyone. Don't even think about framing me. He still dares to argue even with all the evidence. This Emily Dawson must be a repeat offender. One of the officers muttered.
Don't
waste time. Hit ordered coldly. Put the cuffs on her and drag her back to the station for interrogation. I'd like to see you try, I said, raising my voice. One more time, listen carefully.
That
money isn't extortion money. It's dirty money. It's from county official Wu Zhendong's corruption and bribery. I'm making a formal report. Wu Zhendong is corrupt and has been accepting
bribes.
And I also accuse Captain Chiwa of abusing his authority.
The
moment I shouted Wu Zhendong's name, Chiwa visibly panicked. She's lying. Arrest her now, he yelled. The officers hesitated, unsure of what to do. They stepped toward me, cuffs in hand.
I
fought back with all my strength. Just as they were about to clamp the cuffs on me, a commanding voice rang out. What do you think you're doing? Everyone turned. A tall man in military uniform stepped forward, flanked by a group of security officers. It was General Michael Lee. The medals on his chest gleamed under the lights. Hitchua's face went pale. In an instant. After all, he worked for the police. He knew exactly who General
Lee was.
Of course, Hitchua understood what General Michael Lee's uniform and medals represented. He stammered. We're reporting, sir. We were arresting a suspect. Michael Lee's expression was icy. A suspect? Who? Under General Lee's sharp gaze, Chiwa's hand trembled slightly as he pointed at me. Michael Lee continued, his tone cold and
direct.
And what crime did she commit? Ichua stuttered. She extorted 100,000 yuan. The amount is extraordinarily large. It wasn't extortion. I cut in.
That
100,000 yuan is dirty money. Bribe money. Taken by County Chief Wu Jiandong.
and
This so-called Captain Haiwa. He's not even the real Haiwa. He's Wu Jiandong's son Wu Xiaolong. He's using a stolen identity to abuse his power and
persecute me.
as I shouted out all of their crimes one by one, Wuwa gangs, formerly known as Haiwa, forehead broke into a cold sweat. You're talking nonsense, he snapped. She's lying, sir. Don't believe her. I'll determine the truth for myself, Michael Lee said flatly. I'll assign someone to investigate thoroughly.
For now, release.
Emily Dawson immediately. The officers stepped aside without hesitation. Wu Sha was unwilling to give in. He opened his mouth again to argue, but I had already
Pulled out the letter I had prepared, a
formal report and handed it to General
Lee.
Sir, I said firmly, I am formally reporting Wu Jiandong for corruption and accepting bribes. That 100,000 yuan is part of his dirty money. I also report Wu Xiaolong for impersonating another man to obtain a government position.
And
I am reporting the military officer, Andrew Parker, for unethical behavior, including stealing my college admission letter and conspiring with his wife, Lisa Warren, to assume my identity. As I finished speaking, I lunged toward Andrew and pulled the admission letter straight from his pocket, the one he had just stolen from my drawer during the commotion. This is the proof.
they've
Been working together trying to destroy
me.
I'm asking you, sir, to stand up for
Me.
Everyone was stunned. I had laid everything bare, one bombshell after another. General Lee took the letter from my hand and began to read.
It was a
Detailed point-by-point report outlining evidence of Wu Jiandong's corruption and bribery. As for Wang's impersonation, I had already contacted the real Hai. The truth was irrefutable. There was no excuse he could make. General Lee finished reading. His expression darkened. Comrade Lee, he said to me solemnly, everything you've said will be investigated thoroughly. When Dong 1 TT just Yuan explanation hell 01 to the entire public, he turned to face the trembling Wu Xiaolong and the ashen-faced Andrew Parker. And as for them, what's false can't be made true. Once their crimes are confirmed, they will be punished accordingly. Wa's legs gave out, and he collapsed to the ground, unable to get up. Even though Andrew was trying to keep his composure, his shaking hands betrayed the fear and despair inside him. Michael Lee looked Andrew in the eye and declared, as a soldier, you're not only ungrateful, you framed others, engaged in immoral conduct, and violated your duty.
You're
unfit to wear the uniform. On behalf of the military district, I'm suspending you from service pending a full investigation. The moment he finished speaking, Andrew's knees buckled and he collapsed. I bowed deeply to General Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Truly. No need to thank me, he replied. Eliminating corruption from within the party and the military is my duty. Emily Dawson, he added. Do you have any other grievances? Yes, I said, pointing to Margaret Parker and her husband, who stood trembling in the crowd. They kept my survivors' benefits for 18 years. I want that money returned. That's a simple matter. General Lee said. Well, verify the facts and have them return it in full.
A
Week later, the punishments for Wu Xiaolong, Wu Jiandong, and Andrew Parker were officially announced. Wu Jiandong
was expelled from the party and
sentenced to 15 years in prison for corruption and abuse of power.
Wu
Xiaolong was also expelled and sentenced to 3 years for impersonation and misconduct. Margaret Parker sobbing, borrowed money in secret and returned every penny of my survivor's benefits. With that overdue compensation finally in hand, I began packing for school.
On
The day I left, a major event occurred. In the village, Lisa Warren's aunt arrived from the city, bringing along Lisa's cousin and Wu Xiaogang's
wife.
After Wu Jiandong's crimes were exposed and he was imprisoned, his home and assets were seized. His wife, daughter, and daughter-in-law were all implicated and stripped of their former privileges. The comfortable life they had once known was gone. When Wu Jiandong's wife realized that all of this was because of Lisa, she brought the whole family to the village to make Lisa
pay.
Wu Jiandong's wife, daughter, and daughter-in-law pounced on Lisa Warren and beat her brutally. They tore off her clothes and hurled one insult after another. This is all because of you. You shameless, you never studied, never worked, and instead of living right, you went after someone else's man. And thanks to you, both your uncle and your cousin got dragged down
With you.
Lisa was beaten until her face was bruised and swollen. She screamed for help, crying for her father and mother, but not a single person stepped
Forward to stop it.
after the women of Wu Jianong's family were done unleashing their fury. They stormed off, cursing all the way. Lisa lay on the ground bruised and battered, and no one
Cared.
even Margaret Parker, who used to fawn over her and shower her with kindness, walked right past her without offering a hand. Margaret had always been notoriously snobbish. She'd once used me because of my survivor's pension. Then, when she thought Lisa had powerful backing, she cozied right up to her. But now that Lisa had lost her support, Margaret dropped her without a second thought. Lisa had always been lazy, spoiled, and completely useless. Someone like her was of no help to anyone in the countryside. I knew Margaret too well. At this point, she must be regretting ever letting Andrew marry someone like Lisa.
I saw my ride
Approaching, I picked up my bags and walked toward the vehicle. And that's when Andrew Parker, looking like he'd aged 10 years, dirty and disheveled, suddenly appeared out of nowhere and blocked my path. Emily, I'm sorry. Everything that happened before, it was all because of Lisa. She was the one who seduced me. She told me she had powerful connections and could help me get promoted. She's the one who wanted your admission letter and asked me to get it for her. It was all her idea. I was just
confused. She used me.
I looked at him, this pitiful, broken version of the man who once betrayed me. And what do you want from me now? I asked. Forgiveness. Emily, he said, voice trembling. Even death row inmates get a chance at redemption. I was misled. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You're wrong, I cut him off coldly. If you'd admitted your mistakes and taken responsibility, I might still consider you human.
But
all you've done is shift the blame onto Lisa like you had no part in it.
that
Makes you worse than a coward. I was used by her, Andrew insisted. You have
to believe me.
She's the one who pushed me to break off the engagement early. Wasn't that obvious? You're talking about last week, I said, staring him
Down. Yes.
in this life. You came to break off the engagement a week earlier than in the last one. And you're saying Lisa forced you? So you're admitting I'm right? You've come back too. Andrew staggered backward. That's right, I said. After you and Lisa got me killed, I came back. Andrew's face twisted with horror. You came back?
Drop.
The act. I said, I will never forgive.
You.
Never again will I fall for your Lies, Andrew Parker. You have no heart, no soul. He instinctively took a few steps back, but then surged forward in desperation. Then how do you know? General Lee? How are you connected? To him? I saved Michael Lee's life. I
said flatly.
In my past life, he owed me a favor. It was because of me he promoted you in the army. Andrew's face went pale. So that's it. That's why. After you died, General Lee ordered an investigation, and I was executed.
I
never knew. I never knew you even knew him. I thought Lisa was the one who
helped me.
I was completely wrong. Andrew stood there like a man who'd lost his soul, murmuring to himself, dazed. Just then, Lisa Warren stumbled over, face swollen, limping as she dragged herself forward. Andrew, your mother told me to pack up and leave. Is that really what you want too? She demanded. After everything I've done for you, after I lost my family for you, you're really going to treat me like this? You still dare to speak? Andrew's eyes flared with rage.
You
liar. Didn't you say I got promoted because of your uncle?
You used me. You
lied to me. You used my future like it was a game. I used you. Lisa screamed.
Weren't you
the one who came crawling to me the moment you heard my uncle was a powerful man? You flirted, begged for attention. You think I didn't see through that? Shut your mouth. Andrew roared. I'm done with you. I want a clean break.
We're getting divorced right now.
He grabbed Lisa by the hair and started dragging her away. Lisa kicked and screamed, hurling every curse she could think of. The two of them fought viciously, tearing into each other, shouting obscenities for all to hear. I turned away from the scene and boarded the bus. As the doors shut, I heard a blood-curdling scream from outside. Then came the horrified shouts of villagers. Murder! Murder! I looked out the window. Lisa Warren was holding a knife. The blade plunged into Andrew Parker's
chest.
Blood spilled from the corner of his mouth. He died on the spot. Lisa Warren was quickly subdued by the villagers and taken to the local police station. And I boarded the bus that would carry me toward the life that was meant to be mine. The vehicle sped forward, leaving the village behind, leaving behind all my misfortune as
well.
I truly believed that in this life, I would finally have a beautiful future, one that belonged to me and me alone.